So first question, we're gonna do this real quick so everyone kind of knows how can they find out more information about you. So the first question is, how can we find out more information about the full trainings and the speaker's product offerings? So I'm gonna give you guys a second to kind of go ahead and just go down the line.
Take out your cellular device. Visit Jeresha Hawk, JERESHIA. Pretty much anywhere, I'll be the first name that pops up. I'm in a red suit. Slide in my DMs, send me a message, visit JereshaHawk.com, and I'd love to teach you a simple way to sell your services. Oh, JERESHIA. Last name Hawk, HAWK. Thank you.
Super easy, my first and last name, Africa, which is my real first name, spelled just like the continent, Miranda, my last name, Africa Miranda. You can also find me at africamiranda.com. My book is available. Thank you to everyone who purchased today because I sold out. Thank you. But you can get your copies of Step Up, Step Out, and Shine on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. And if you're in New York, there are physical copies at the Barnes & Noble on Fifth Avenue. If you see me somewhere, bring your book, like this lady did, and I will happily sign it. And you can also find my beauty company at beautybyafricamiranda.com.
All right, y'all can find me at manifestyourself.com, but on social media, because someone took it, I am Manifest Yourself, URSELF, on all social media channels. And that's where all my products and services, you could learn more, or you can stop by my booth before the end of the day.
Thank you. All right, next question. So there is no fluff in here. It's like some real questions. So, how to approach coworkers about how much they make and make sure it's fair pay? Yes, I saw the question. I was like, oh, snap. So basically, in my words, the question is, we don't even say the question again. Go ahead.
Okay, so a lot of workplaces do not like if you ask around to get benchmarking for salaries, point blank period. However, I'm a big proponent of asking someone who you're close to. Don't go up to people who you don't know. Like, for instance, when I left my job at Princeton, I really wanted my coordinator to get promoted, so I told her exactly how much I made so she would know if they were underpaying her based upon her experience. So if you know someone you can really ask, go ahead and ask. Don't be asking all these strangers, and it has to be hush-hush. But I strongly believe you can do your research, and you can find a good salary range for your industry and your role by just doing a little homework. So don't get caught up in, if my coworker won't tell me or this person won't tell me, do your research. And I promise you, you could find good data. And I've done it for my clients before, where I will find a good range within $10,000 so you can go in and ask for the amount of money you deserve.
Thank you. Next, what are some tangible things that you can do to work towards, or it sounds like another Kimberly question, to work towards a raise while you're employed with your company?
Money is important. Yes. So tangible things to work toward a raise. So in the same way I talked about, the first step was know your value. In the workplace, know what makes you stand out. So when I knew I wanted to build my career in career services, I started as a counselor, like most people do. Everybody starts at that one level. I knew to get higher, looking at directors, that I had to add a skill set in order to get paid more. So if you're looking to get paid more and get a raise or a promotion, find out what is essential to your company and how you can be of value. And yes, this means you may have to do more work. Yes, this means you may be volunteering your time. Also get involved in professional organizations. Start networking and meeting more people and giving of yourself so that you can get the salary back. Getting a raise or a promotion, I'm sure you ladies can talk about it when you guys are both in corporate. Like it doesn't just come without you doing any work. You have to put some extra work out there in order to get the money later.
And one thing I will say to anyone here that's not traditionally employed, you still want to be able to raise your own rates. And in order to do that, you have to then consistently be creating content or products and services that are of value that then justify the rate. So for me, I work with brands that come to me for different projects. My rate is, was one thing 2 years ago. It's a different rate this year. But also in those 2 years, as you said, I've added skills, I've added content at a certain level that justifies what I'm going to charge a brand. And actually, to add to even the earlier thing about asking coworkers, I don't have coworkers, but what I do have are colleagues and and friends that are fellow content creators. And I'm someone that I will share. I may not, because here's the thing: it's not always something where I can share and tell you exactly what I'm getting, because you do have to negotiate based on your unique skill set. But I have been able to advise people close to me what they should be charging for their time, because what a lot of brands are doing now are using influencers and bloggers and content creators as talent. And I know that as a talent, I get a day rate, I get paid for usage, I get paid residuals, and I found out that a lot of bloggers and other people that were influencers weren't getting that because they didn't know to ask for it. So learn to, if you're not comfortable sharing your dollar amount, at the very least, share the information that can help protect people, in those spaces so that they can get more money, because there's absolutely enough for everyone to get paid what they should. And if people are all getting paid what they should, it helps, the boat rises with everyone.
I want to round that out, because we've heard of understanding what your value is, but you need to know what is the return on your value. So and this is important, so regardless if you're in a 9-to-5 job or like you said, you're self-employed, what is the return on the investment that somebody is making with you? And you need to know how to articulate that and understand what that is. So if you're teaching somebody how to make money, or one post that you do is not just there's a long-term return on the investment for that content. So understand what your value is, but also understand what is the return on your investment that somebody who's paying you. You need to be able to articulate that as well.
Thank you. And I think that's the perfect segue, because the next question that comes up is, what are some of the initial steps to concretely transition from a full-time employment to entrepreneurship? Yeah.
So I think there's 2 ways to go about it. And I think I'm really big on, you need to pray before you pursue. Just pray before you pursue, because sometimes you might be ready, but God, you really not ready yet. I'm not one to take the leap. So I know some individuals, they're ready to just jump off the cliff with no paycheck, no security, no whatever. But if God has called you to go do that way, you already have the provision. For me, I was really big on how can I build a bridge so I can just be in a position where I can make a decision and make a choice. And that was more important for me. So I think regardless, one, pray before you pursue, but understand, so many people are saying, I'm waiting until the right time to quit my job, but you need to know, what are your boundaries, what are your stipulations, how much people will tell me, I'm waiting until I make $30,000 a month before I quit. Do you make $30,000 a month now? No. So why are you waiting? I know some of y'all laughing, I don't know if maybe that's your case, but you don't need as much as you probably think that you do for you to create your own security. So actually go through and evaluate how much money would you actually need to be able to support yourself, and then how can you take those steps to start generating your own revenue, to start either matching it. And also remember that you're already, right now, if you're working full-time, you're giving half of yourself away. You only have so much capacity. So once you quit your job, you'll be able to make whatever now, but I was able to triple or quadruple what I was bringing in when I was working full-time after I quit my job, because I had more capacity, I had more time, I had more mental capacity to actually think and create and put myself out there. So just know that some of the larger payout might come after you quit, but really just get clear on what you actually need, and not you throwing out a number out there that's really you self-sabotaging, because you really don't believe you ever get there, so then you never have to make the decision, if that makes sense. Anybody else wants to?
Thanks, girl. All right, so we're gonna talk a little about relationships. Please elaborate on the notion of choosing a man rather than letting him choose me. I ask because I usually choose him, and in the end, he never seems as invested as when I am chosen in the beginning. All right now.
That was from my section of the program. To give a little, in realizing that, I realized it was also like something that was prevalent in my entire life, because the idea of being chosen also means that you are simply waiting. And I recognize it in my romantic life, but I also realized I had been doing that in every facet of my life, because as a talent, you're waiting for someone to say, hi, yes, you're good enough, come on, let me give you this opportunity. So I wasn't being proactive. I was simply being reactive in my life. I was being reactive, meaning that I just liked you back. So if people liked me, I didn't have to really make any hard choices. And then I could also shirk responsibility if things didn't work, because I could put that on the other person. And then in essence, in looking at my life, it's the same thing. If I'm just waiting to be chosen and it doesn't work out, well, they just didn't choose me, or that wasn't fair, but not taking responsibility. So I had to do two things in my personal life. Not to say that I don't like someone being, approaching or being chosen, but I had to also take a moment to ask myself, well, if we take all of these choices away, what type of person do I actually want? Because when you just have food in front of you, you're going to eat if you're hungry, but it may not necessarily be what you would want if you had to make your perfect meal. So then I had to ask myself, what are the qualities that I was looking for in a partner? What are the things that I actually really needed in my life beyond surface things that seemed nice, but that weren't sustainable and that weren't really feeding me, as a person? And at the same token, that I looked and I was like, this is indicative of all of my life choices. And when I started being proactive and really asking myself, what the kind of career do I want? What is the legacy that I want to lead? What do I want to say versus someone telling me this is what I should say or this is the career I should do? It made all of the difference in the world. Not to say that I have figured all of the romantic part of it out, but life is, there's a way you can just go through life and feel like you are just hurtling from pillar to post, or you can feel like, I'm an active participant in what is happening to me. Do I ultimately believe that God has ordained all things? Yes, but he has still given us skills and talents and a mind and a body that we need to use. And I realized, if I was being honest, I wasn't using it to its full capacity, because I was like, well, I'm nice, I'm attractive, I'm somewhat charismatic, good things kind of happen, but they aren't transformative. And I wanted a life that was transformative. And I think that's what we all want. So you can't just wait for things to happen or to choose. And that is in your personal life, that is in your professional life, that is really in any relationship or interaction that you have.
No, I think you hit that one right on the head, girl. All right. So the last hour of networking that we have, this question, anyone can take it up. When you attend networking events, what are some tips that you have on introducing yourself and making connections? Everyone wants it? Okay.
So number one, with your networking events, make sure you don't stay with your friends. So if you came here with someone, y'all need to move around. The biggest complaint I get about the Empowerment Social is that I don't have enough seating. And I do that on purpose, because if you don't have seats, you move. And you move around, you get drinks, you meet more people. So number one, put yourself in situations where you are forced to meet more people. Yes, I'm talking about y'all over there. Number two, when it comes to introducing yourself, come up and practice what you want to say. An introduction shouldn't be more than 20 to 30 seconds. And think about the room that you're in. So in this particular room, you don't know who you're talking to. This isn't just for entrepreneurs. It's not just for professionals. It's not just for creatives. It's for the audience, I always say, is a mature 25 to a woke 44, across all different fields and industries. That's how I explain the Empowerment Social when I'm talking to sponsors. Clearly, maybe I left some people out on either end, but it's okay. We appreciate y'all. Black don't crack. So when you introduce yourself, you need to come up with the most general pitch. So I'll put myself on the spot. If I were to introduce myself to any of you, I would say, hi, my name is Kimberly B. Cummings. I'm a career and leadership professional who's very interested in diversity inclusion efforts. I'm always looking to network and meet new business owners, creatives, and professionals who are looking to excel in their careers. What do you do? And you see that as very, very general, but it's something that I say a lot, so I practice. And if you're in a room that is more specific, so if I was in an entrepreneurial room networking with y'all, I would say, hi, my name is Kimberly Cummings. I'm the founder of Manifest Yourself, a career and leadership platform for women and people of color. I want to see minorities win. What do you do? So practice knowing what room you're in and rehearse it so you know what to say.
I would also add to that, I talked about strategy, like have a plan. It doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily go according to plan, but you have to, again, everybody's not an extrovert. So if you know that you're kind of shy like me, like I give myself like a goal, like, okay, I need to at least talk to 3 people that I don't know. Or, get through like an X amount of business cards or X amount of connections. It gives yourself a small goal. If you meet it early enough in the event, it takes the pressure off, and then you find that you're talking to more people. Also, even if you don't have your full pitch together, I'm Southern, so I've just be nice and smile and say hello, because the other person is probably as nervous to be at this event as you are, and that goes a long way. It goes a long. There's so many connections I've made just sometimes be standing somewhere, and I'm just like, hi. And they say, hey, and then we just get to talking because you've just broken the ice. Because I'm telling you, everybody is probably just as a little bit uncomfortable as you are, because nobody is like, oh, I'm ready to go talk to a room full of strangers. Like somebody, but the average person is not. So just keep that in mind and don't overthink it, but have a plan for yourself, because it gives you structure, and you don't feel like you're just looking at a sea of people like, oh God, I've got to talk to everybody because this is going to change my life. Every room doesn't have to change your life. Just make small, like bite-sized moments, and then those will build like the connections that you need.
I just want to give questions I like to ask every time I walk up to somebody. I typically will ask what keeps you busy, because just because asking the question of what do you do, half the people I've met in here, y'all hate y'all jobs, which probably maybe part of the reason why you might be here, but asking what keeps you busy and or why do you do what you do, it opens up a more open-ended question, and it gets more personal, and then the other person will talk, and then from there you'll be able to pick things to kind of keep the conversation going.
So the last thing I just wanted to add is when you're having these conversations, try not to focus on what your outcome is going to be. That's the biggest mistake when people are networking, is that they're just looking to make the ask. So I'll share my story with you, because I'm this was so exciting to me. I've probably come to at least 5 to 6 events that you've been at. I have probably bought every single one of your products. I own them over the span of maybe 4 to 5 years. And when I was looking for speakers for this event, I called Kevin beforehand, and I was like, babe, I'm going to this event. I know Africa's gonna be there, and I want to ask her, but I'm afraid, Africa speaks around the world. I saw you speaking for Kia. I'm not Kia. And I was so afraid. And when I asked you and you said yes, it was because I've talked to you for how long? So I vested in that relationship. I think when we're networking, we're already thinking about the transaction. We're thinking about, can we get the job? If you come to me today, and you want a job, so my job now is to get people jobs at American Express. So I will do that. But if you are looking for a high quality referral, you're not gonna get that from me, because I just met you today. I'm gonna give a disclaimer that I don't know you. I met you one time. You seemed okay. I am not responsible if you suck in an interview. But if I know you well, oh my gosh, I met them at the Empowerment Social. We had 3 calls after, and we had coffee. This is what they're doing. This is what they're interested in. Please use me as a resource and a recommendation for this person, because I would hire them myself on my own team. That's the referral you want, and that takes time. Sometimes things can happen fast. Sometimes things can take years, because this is literally, and I didn't even know I hadn't asked for you, but it took years for me to be comfortable having the ask, and then I got a yes, because you're here. So.
And she could have asked me after the first meeting, and I would have said yes. But even when you did, I was like, of course. I was like, when is it? It's just, it wasn't, I didn't have to think about it. It's of course I would support you, because you have supported me. And the relationship built beyond just it was easy. It was an easy yes. It's of course I would. And this is the perfect example, because there's nothing that I need from her to do this. It was I will happily do it. I will happily support you, because you didn't want anything. And it's just, that's the thing. You want to build genuine connections and relationships. And I'm so glad, because I would have been so mad if you had not asked me, and then I would have found out later. I would be like, why didn't she just ask? Like, I would have been so mad.
All in all, guys, be genuine, be authentic, and you reap what you sow. All right? So speaking about relationships, well, not relationships in that sense, but more relationships with investors. Interesting question. How important do you feel in building the relationship between you and your investor is to the growth of your business? And how do you develop such a relationship?
So I'm gonna give two perspectives to this. My boyfriend runs a private equity firm, so like he deals with like 7, 8-figure type of investments. I believe that like, how can you fund yourself? I'm really big on self-funding. Be your own investor. This is why I think it's so important to like have a personal service brand and know how to sell services, because you can fund yourself. When I overhear his conversations, he normally is buying companies anywhere from 1 to 50 million in revenue. And a lot of the times when people come to them, they're not even at a stage in their business where they're ready for investors. So a lot of the time, maybe you have an amazing idea and you're like, I need capital, I need funding. And it's like, but do you really? And do you know how much you actually need? That's the thing that I hear him talking about all the time is people are coming and they don't know what their ask is, or they say, I need 2 million or I need 15 million. And it's like, okay, what are you gonna use this money for? And it's like, man, that's a good question, bro. Like, bro, like you should have known that before you came here. So if you don't watch, who watches The Prophet? Okay, we got okay, cool. Watch his show, he be breaking it down. Or like watch Shark Tank. Like these resources, I mean, look at them not as a consumer who's like taking time to just binge watch TV. Like listen to the questions that they're asking these potential investors. I mean, these potential companies. But that's one thing that he like gets so irritated by, and I'm just ear hustling in the background. But it's people ask for money, they don't know what the money's even for, and they don't know how much they actually need. So you need to have that unlocked, because nobody's about to give you $2 million and what you about? You pull a fire event. You over here trying to buy Pablo Escobar's island, ain't nothing popping off. Like, so just know what you're going to use the money for.
Thank you. All right, so this one's gonna be my last question. I have some other questions here that I didn't get a chance to get to. Please come see me afterwards and I will put you in contact with the right person that can help you answer these, all right? I think I know a good chunk of the folks in this room. All right? Last question, 2-part question. Having to do with interviewing again, but I think it's good. So first part of the question, should I interview even if I'm content in my current role? Part 1. Part 2, prior to interviewing, how do I approach negotiating the offer? For example, HR says this position offers $70K. Are you okay with that? How do I approach with that position when I'm looking for more? Okay.
So I'm gonna have you repeat the second part, but the first question I would say, yes, you should always be interviewing. You are a free agent. All of us, most of us in companies, we are employees at will, which means you could walk into work on Monday and they could say, I'm so sorry, thank you for your service, have a nice day. So always court conversations. When I was moving from a smaller private school to an Ivy League school, I got the opportunity because I got an interview at a place. I did such a stellar job, but they said I was overqualified. That woman then referred me to multiple roles within Columbia University. And it all came through networking. So never turn down an interview, because you never know if that interview could then be an agent for you going someplace else. It's a great way to connect someone and show your skills, so never ever turn that down. Now, can you repeat the second question, Brian, again?
Second question, prior to the interview, how do you approach negotiating the offer? I.e., the HR person said that this offer this job is $70K. Are you okay with that? How do you negotiate that?
So when they say that the HR job is, whatever the job is this amount of money, first of all, most HR recruiters are going to ask you, what range are you looking for? And when they tell you that range, the reason why we talk about that process and know your process, don't wait to do your research when it's time to negotiate. You should know going into the role what your salary expectations are. So they say, hey, we're paying around $70,000 for that job. You're going to say, well, based upon my research, that role should really be around 85 to 95. And they'll say, oh, okay. I'm like, is that in your budget? And if they say yes, then you continue. Most of the time they'll say yes, because as a hiring manager, y'all know, as a hiring manager, we have a line that we're able to draw from. So they'll tell me I can hire someone between $50,000 to $70,000. As a business lead, they want me to get you close to 50. And technically, I'm not gonna advocate for you to get to 70 unless you advocate for yourself. So the key is advocating for yourself and knowing in the beginning so that you can counter. And if they say they really can't do more than that, if you're really a good candidate, they're not going to let you go. And if they really, really can't, then they will, and you're on to the next job that can pay you what you're worth.
The only thing I would add is just for someone who has to negotiate this themselves, like as freelance, honestly, a lot of the same things apply. You have to look at, again, all the time, the hours, because a number can, when you're freelance, there's like the joke someone put that as a freelance on Monday, your checking account could say $400. By Friday, it could say $25,000. And because you're getting money in lump sums, it seems like, oh, this is a good chunk of money. But by the time you break down the hours that it takes for the project or revisions or whatever things that you're submitting, you might get like $10 an hour. And if somebody asked you, would you work for $10 an hour, you would say, of course not. So it's one, as we had all said earlier, like breaking down the time it takes. But then, when brands come to me and say, oh, we have this project, we'd love for you to come on board. This is, a lot of times they'll ask you what your rate is. I like for them to kind of tell me first what their budget is because I just want to see where they're starting. But I also had to get comfortable as a creative and as a freelancer saying this is what my rate is. And knowing that I'd have had to start turning down things that were not, I couldn't do it for less than that because again, I'd look up and I was working for $10 an hour. So one, being able, as you said, to put a number on your, on your rate so that it makes sense for your time and your livelihood, because when you are not working a 9 to 5 and getting paid, those lump checks for $25,000 or $10,000 here, that might be what you have to live off of for 3 months. So it has to count. And in terms of negotiating with brands, when they do give me a number that does not work, when I do come back with my rate I also say why. It's my rate because these are the amount of hours that that the project takes. This is what my engagement is. This is what my analytics are. I know what my stats are, so I can easily tell you why my value is this dollar amount. But you have to get comfortable saying that. And that's with any negotiation you walk into. You also can't look at it. You're there because you have value, and you have to be able to own that value because nobody is going to voluntarily give you the top level amount of money. Like, you have to be able to come in and advocate for yourself.
I'd say the only thing to add to that is I think a lot of the time when these conversations or questions come up, you have to realize that you are a business. Your employer is just your largest contractor, your largest job at the time, but you are the business. That's just your largest client. And just as you need the job and you are in need of the money, they need you too. They need top quality talent. And that's the only other thing for negotiation, just knowing, you need to know where your walk away line is. So you're not getting yourself into a position where you're saying yes and then you're walking out and you're pissed that you just said yes. You need to know your FU, line or money or whatever it is for you, I think is really important. Is the only other thing I'd add on to that.
And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming.